Hello, I'm so excited to be a part of Impact Unleashed this year and participating and meeting some of you. My name is Lara Dickinson, and I'm the Executive Director and co-founder of One Step Closer, or OSC, and also the co-founders of the Climate Collaborative and the JEDI Collaborative. I'm going to be here today to talk about collaboration in leadership, particularly in natural products and consumer products and beyond. OSC is a network of CEOs in the natural products industry, and we came together 8 years ago to really explore how can we both support each other as mission-based companies who are working very hard to invest in our supply chain and invest in impact, and also recognizing that when you're investing in that part of your product line, it's pretty hard to also invest in growth. And so we really work to grow and support each other and to address systems level challenges that are too big for any one of us to face through truly regenerative and collaborative platforms. And so we have launched the Packaging Collaborative to bring compostable packaging to consumer products. We have launched the Climate Collaborative, which you'll hear more about, and we're just so proud of their growth and the growth of this project of OSC and SFTA. And most recently, we launched the first phase of the JEDI Collaborative, which stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And I'll spend the majority of my time speaking about this with you and really recognizing that my entire journey and much of OSC's has been a JEDI journey, where we see that when diversity of perspective is brought into the room of leaders, the real magic happens and the big leaps in terms of progress and growth, particularly in sustainable and impact-based platforms and projects. So look forward to speaking with you more. Check out osc2.org and JEDIcollaborative.com and climatecollaborative.com. Thank you.
I grew up in the South, in South Carolina, going to Christian school for 12 years, and I didn't know a single gay person growing up. You kind of carry around this like deep, dark secret and this thing that nobody can ever know about you, and something that your entire culture tells you isn't okay about yourself or is like intrinsically wrong with you.
I'm a black man in America. I'm a Muslim who came of age in many ways after September 11th. When it comes to the topic of diversity and discrimination, I think these episodes and these incidences aren't always super obvious. I can't recall ever being called like a racial slur, but you know, there's been a million times in my life when I've thought to myself, like, hey, did I not get that position because of how I look? Or even in a restaurant, sometimes it's like, hey, how come this person got their food before me and I was there first? Or what are the subtle, almost unspoken things that people might be feeling or sensing, even if they're not really explicit and really obvious?
Fuzz kind of became my nickname for a while in elementary school. And now as an adult, I look back on that and I'm like, wow, how could I have like let that happen? And it's because I wanted to be liked and accepted.
The challenges that I might have faced are almost a little bit more insidious or subtle. The discrimination may have come from opportunities I didn't know that I didn't have, from conversations I wasn't invited to participate in, from meetings I wasn't invited to.
We talk about biodiversity of ecology, and for some reason, we tend to separate human beings out of that mix. What we need to understand is we are part of nature. So when we talk about biodiversity, we're talking about the importance of diversity of people as well. It's all part of it.
JEDI stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion.
It's making sure that we're no longer having barriers that are systemic within our society that are getting in the way of them fully participating in living a dignified life.
We're talking about how do we restore value to historically oppressed people. Less than 1% of Black women are being invested in. There are a lot of people who have biased attitudes and don't understand how someone have lived in certain situations where they haven't had access to certain opportunities. We're building a movement of people who really want to see transformation in this country and in the world.
This project is not about getting people in trouble or outing people as much as becoming more open-minded to a variety of perspectives.
The goal of the program is to educate and bring awareness to the issues, and then for us to take those learnings and those best practices and share them with the rest of the companies and the greater community.
About a third of all millennials are Black or Latino. It's the most diverse generation so far in U.S. history. We expect Gen Z to be even more diverse. You then look at another chart, which is showing you the percentage of consumers that want to eat healthy, minimally processed food, right? It's also moving up and to the right, okay? So common sense would dictate at some point that those two worlds need to intersect.
It's just a fact. I mean, there are so many studies, at least 20% more revenue long-term when you have a more diverse team. More innovation revenue, better decisions are made. These are things that we all are starting to intuitively understand, but because it takes a while to really see the results, it's hard to really take those steps unless you have sort of that overall support of a system.
Our consumers are those diverse people who deserve to have justice, who deserve to be included, who deserve to have equity in the way that they're treated and in what's offered up to them.
There's a huge food access issue of how to get healthy, nutritious, ideally organic food into the hands of all people in this country and then in the world.
We need to get staff and leaders hiring diversity at every level. So that needs to be the VP of marketing, the VP of finance, at the operations level, at the CEO level, and at the board level.
It has to be people that historically have not been at the table because their experiences, their sense of self are vastly different.
It starts with leaders and managers creating that space where people feel safe.
When I first started working in the food industry, my first month on the job coincided with the month of Ramadan, which is an Islamic holiday where we fast during the daytime. Literally, like my second day on the job, I was supposed to go in and taste this whole range of fruit snacks, right? And so I'm sitting there thinking the whole time, like, man, I don't want to be a nuisance to the team. So eventually I told my R&D person, I'm like, look, I can't taste this product with you guys. Like, you go ahead, do it without me. Like, I'll be fine. And she was like, no, absolutely not. She made me this like package to take home all of the fruit snacks. She said, after you break your fast tonight, taste the products and bring your notes tomorrow. We'll kind of have the meeting again. It was such a small gesture, but it made me feel super welcome, super included. Those are the type of things that you want to bake into your work culture, right? It's not just, hey, we don't discriminate against people or we're not racist. It's like, no, we're proactively inclusionary.
There's a perception, it goes back to, current status quo and the current paradigm, that the ROI comes from a certain type of company, a certain type of founder, a certain type of product.
There are some investors who would taste what I have and they would say, this is amazing, this is excellent. And they would say, why don't you come and work for me? There have been other people who have said, oh, well, you need to sell a certain amount of equity, or you need to raise $100,000. Well, I've raised over $100,000, and then I'm still not getting investment.
We have a data platform called Helia. We track about 1.5 million different consumer brands. We have 18 companies that we've invested in on the equity side. 12 of them are led by candidates that we would qualify as diverse candidates. Half of them are led by women founders. Our goal is not to go out and look for diverse candidates. It just so happens that using data, it leads us to a diverse founder pool.
In order for a business to be truly relevant to the future, it has to be inclusive. It has to be socially responsible. It has to be diverse.
We are out there spending time on the ground with our supply chain. We have looked in the eyes of the folks who grew this tea. We understand what their challenges are. We're working with them to help ensure, their communities have access to clean drinking water. We're working with them to understand the farming challenges that they're faced with, particularly in a changing climate.
We can supersede some of these challenges that humanity faces, whether it's poverty, malnutrition, or it's inequality or racism. These are our enemies. We're trying to use our businesses to combat those challenges.
If we don't change as companies, we will die as an industry. This is a moment. You see other moments in history where people didn't take advantage of a time. We are at that moment. We are on the precipice. If we don't change, we will not thrive. And we've got to recognize that now.
By 2025, we will generate 2,025 commitments to JEDI in the natural products industry, thereby increase the resilience of our food system.